Welcome to Unselfishly Me, a podcast all about self-love, self-care, and everything in between. I'm Jane, a personal trainer with a focus on self-love. Each week, we'll be chatting to someone about their self-love journey, how long it took, and what it took to get there. Today's guest is someone who I am going to connect with for a long time in the future. Yeah, when your soul is just lit up by someone, and I was definitely destined to meet her. So today's guest, Dr. Mary Sanders, is a medical intuitive. You're going to hear all about that, but she is an intuitive chiro. She is so interesting. I can't even do justice by introducing her, because when she introduces herself, she tells you such incredible stories and exactly what she's gone through in her life. And it is fascinating. Like my jaw, if you'd seen the video, my jaw is almost on the floor. I was just like, what? She's so fascinating. And she loves empowering women over 40 to achieve health, happiness, and purpose. And I think that is so, so needed in this world, that as women in general, but like from 40 onwards, she is holding space for women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, it is incredible. And I can only imagine when you are going from each stage, how different it is and how important it is to do the work and to feel seen and heard. So even when she said about 70s and 80s, I was thinking, wow, that is such a transitional time. And I think it is so important that you have people that can hold space and to help you through these times. So I am so excited to introduce Dr. Mary Sanders to you. So welcome, Dr. Mary. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first and foremost, Jane, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your podcast. It's such an honor. And quite honestly, it's so lovely to connect with international women such as yourself that are holding space for educating people about the energy systems and making it more mainstream and less woo-woo. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm very excited to hear more about you.
Yes. So Jane, I'll try and I've got a history, so I feel as though I need to share a little bit about myself historically to better understand why and how I got to where I am today. And one thing I want to mention to the listeners today is that I am hearing impaired, and my hearing is about 50% the capacity of normal hearing. And I went undiagnosed until approximately the age of 3 years old. And so within these first 3 years, I lived in this beautiful land of spirituality, of the energy that was unseen. So I clearly I was missing the communication style from my parents, but I learned how to read energy. I didn't know that clearly at the age of 3. I did not know that that's what I was doing, but essentially now I do know that that was what was happening. And to make a long story short, I desensitized my intuition in order to be fully integrated within my family. And I had little bursts of intuition that would come up in everyday life, but I really didn't speak about it. But the one thing that I knew and I never lost sight of was the appreciation that there is so much happening beyond what we can traditionally see, feel, and sense beyond our 5 traditional senses. So I did my mainstream education, and I went to undergraduate school and really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So my background was in studying zoology and chemistry. So my background is really heavy science. So then as soon as I graduated from undergraduate school, I enrolled in chiropractic school. And so all of a sudden, I got connected into, and I knew that I was in the right place at the right time, because people were talking about universal intelligence, innate intelligence, the body, the innate intelligence that runs through us and connects us with all that surrounds us. And I loved it. So take that and combine it with another strength of mine, and that is my hands. So what I pick up from a psychometry is a lot of information. So I got really lit up by my formal training as far as being a chiropractor. And then, so I graduated and I was 25 years old. And with a doctorate in chiropractic, and I decided to go and be self-employed. Now, for those of us, that's the school of hard knocks. I mean, you don't know what you don't know until you're actually living through it. So I had an opportunity to be of service to people for approximately 22, 23 years. And of those last 22, 23 years, I was experiencing, the last maybe 5, 6 years, I was experiencing a tremendous amount of burnout. I literally went through a complete adrenal exhaustion. I had a series of injuries. I wasn't listening to my body. I just pushed through, and that's just what I was trained to do. So my husband at that time knew that if we didn't make some changes, if I personally didn't change, then it was going to create some big illness or some catastrophic event or a divorce or something like that. So he somehow talked me into leaving my practices and moving to Vietnam. So we went to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. We lived there for 2.5 years. And at that time, Jane, I went through a huge identity crisis. I didn't know who I was, what I stood for, what my purpose was, or why I was even birthed onto this earth. I really just was clueless. So, and I had time on my hands. So I left Vietnam and went down to Bali and got my yoga teacher certification. And then I got really heavy into meditation. So I came back from Indonesia, and here I am with time on my hands. And I just sat and I meditated and I meditated and I meditated. And something beautiful was starting to transform. I didn't understand it, but I kept doing it. So that led me to into the field of positive psychology. I was like, okay, this is cool. I know the body incredibly well from the neck on down. I know physiology, I know anatomy, I know chemistry, but tell me what's happening in the brain. Show me so I can better understand. So I wanted to understand the neuroscience behind meditation. I really wanted to embrace neuroplasticity and get a handle on some of my limiting belief systems. So I went and studied underneath Tal Ben Shahar, and it was transformative. And then what happened was we moved. We moved from Vietnam to Colombia. And in Colombia, I took all of this information with positive psychology, and my husband and I kind of joined forces and we started a nonprofit organization to teach teachers the tools of mindfulness. So we wanted them to do yoga in the classroom. We wanted them to do mindfulness and meditation. We wanted to bring the awareness into the emotional self-regulation for these kids. But we knew that if the teachers didn't have these tools, then how can they role model these tools for the kids? So that's what we did. That was our nonprofit. So I'm like, okay, this is really something else. But I personally was going through, and there were a couple of life experiences, a death of two family members that happened within a period of 5 years. And there were some really, really strong life. I don't even know how to describe it. I was just getting pulled back into the world of energy. And I'm like, that's it. I'm going to go and get my master's in intuition medicine. And that's when I studied with Dr. Francesca McCartney and Sausalito at the Academy of Intuition Medicine. And I started to tap into the intuition that I was born into this world with. So even though I couldn't necessarily hear very well, I certainly have a heightened sense of direct knowing. I have a heightened sense of clairsentience, being able to feel other people's emotions. That's why, it was a pretty amazing thing to start learning how my systems were operating. And then, of course, the psychometry. And then I started to develop a heightened sense of clairvoyance. So here we are, right? So I've got this background, and I'm like, how do I show up and be of service for people? And I do it two ways. I have a small little physical office here in Boulder, Colorado, where I still have my hands on people. And so I get to incorporate all these tools, and I call myself an intuitive chiropractor. Now, more importantly, I do more remote work with people internationally and holding space for energetic transformation. So I'm a medical intuitive. So I connect with people in their energy systems in order to help them go through the physical, the spiritual, the psychological transformations to heal themselves. So that's a really long answer, Jane, to your question, but that's my history. That's how I got to where I am today.
Wow. I'm like, I was so intrigued with every single part of that. That is the best intro I think I've ever had on here. Wow. You have been in a lot of places and done a lot. Like,
I some days I think so, and some days I don't.
yeah. Like, but it feels like it's all divinely guided, and this was definitely your path.
Jane, I couldn't have planned this. I could not have orchestrated it in the epitome of my rigidity. I could not have done that. So I feel really blessed, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my word. Wow. I'm like, so leading on from that, what does self-love mean to you?
I've had time to reflect on this question because I really wanted my answer to be in alignment, truly in alignment with myself. And so I came up with this definition. And it means accepting all aspects of oneself, means that you get to embrace your imperfections in your actions, in your behaviors, and your thoughts with a gentle compassion and non judgment.
Oh, I like that. I think the non-judgment is the biggest part.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you can nail that down.
And, Jane, if I'm going to be 100% honest, this has been a lifelong struggle of mine.
Mm.
So I've had time to I've had moments of stillness when I have been connected in with the greater energetic field and where I can experience oneness with all that surrounds me. And then in the same sentence, I can say, Jane, I've had experiences where I feel like I'm an isolated, individual and completely separate and individualized. And that's, I think, when I become the hardest on myself. Um, I was raised in a generation, and my mother's generation specifically, she was really wanting to show up in a professional world. And this was really important for her, where equality between men and women was taken seriously. So everything that she committed her energy to was striving toward that. And she was a perfectionist. And so being raised by a perfectionist and somebody that could see imperfections within me, it turned me into a thriving perfectionist as well, in the desire to excel and the desire to do and to be more. So it hasn't been, like I said, there's been glimmers of that self-compassion, and I learned this when I did my energetic training, and that the heart chakra itself is all about not only forgiveness and compassion, obviously, the love that we have for other people, but more importantly, Jane, the love that we have for ourselves.
Mm.
That's really the function of the heart. And underneath that, the heart chakra, and underneath the energetics of that, you get forgiveness. Once again, forgiveness of the others and for yourself. And then the aspect of being non judgmental. So that's how I came up with my response to your question.
Oh, but I love it. I think the not judgment is so important. Yeah, I think I'm gonna sit with that for a while after this. So what has your self-love journey looked like?
A roller coaster ride. I've been all over the place, as I just described, but it's a process. I'm not complete with that journey. I think that if we're honest with ourselves, I think that I believe it's a lifelong journey.
Mm.
So every day I strive, I show up on my mat, and I strive, even though I'm standing in front of a mirror, I strive to just be really neutral and really compassionate.
Mm. I think that's important, and that's the key. And I think that's why most of us are always learning and always reading and doing workshops and listening to podcasts and, self-development things, because it is a process, it's a journey and journeys don't end, it's part of the process. And I think that is the beauty of self-development.
Yeah. And I have to share with you because I have been working, and my niche is specifically working with women as they go through the aging process. And let me tell you something, I'm learning a lot.
Mm.
I'm learning a lot holding space for 80-year-old women, for 70-year-old women, for 60-year-old women. So I'm very clear that this is a transformation and a journey that does not end.
Mm. Which I think is beautiful. It's nice to have something to work on throughout your whole life at every stage. It's something that goes with you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Hmm. So this is a question that I'm excited to hear the answer about, because we chatted on email about this and I was like, oh, so what self-love practices do you do each day?
Mm. I have to share with you that I prioritize myself first. So if I take care of myself first before I can be of service to anyone else. And that I had to learn experientially. So I show up on my mat every single day, my yoga mat. I'm there at 6:15 in the morning and I have an hour-long practice. And then I come home and I take a shower and then I sit. I have a formal meditation practice that I do in the morning as well. Once I'm done with that, I do support myself with a healthy diet. I do support myself with good nutrition. I do follow, I try to live a work-life balance, and everything has its season. So as I'm sharing this with you right now, that balance is not real clear, but I'm very aware that it's just a season. And I do energetic techniques. So I do the chakra cleansing. I check in with my biofield every day. I look at the density, how much ownership that I have of my electromagnetic field. Am I carrying other people's frequency within my own? I cleanse just like I take a shower, I cleanse my energy system every day and I get a good amount of sleep. So those are the basics of my self-care.
And tell us, how many years have you been doing yoga?
Okay, at the risk of aging myself, I have been doing yoga for 33 years. And it's interesting, and I'll share this story because I love this story.
Mm.
I originally was introduced to yoga when I was in my undergraduate training. So I was 20 years old, and it was my physics teacher, who was from India, that introduced me to yoga. So he would come over back in the day when the boundaries of fraternization were a little bit looser. He would come over, and there would be probably 6 or 8 women in my apartment. I mean, we had to move furniture. We were in the kitchen. We were in the living room. We were kind of in the hallway. And he would guide us through a gentle yoga practice. So that was my first introduction to yoga.
Wow. And from the source, basically. I mean, there is no
Yeah,
one better to actually introduce you to it than someone from India.
true, true.
Just a quick little interlude here. If you're enjoying this episode, I would love to reach a lot more people and help them on their journey back to themselves. So if you could do me a favor, and most of you are listening on your phone, can you just press pause and head to the share button and send this to a friend that you think might enjoy it? It really does help me to reach more people, and it helps me to be able to help them and for them to then carry on their journey of self-love. Thank you. Wow. 33 years, that is incredible. I've only recently, I've been on and off for probably the last 5 years. As a personal trainer, I was always in the gym doing, weights and that kind of stuff. And I never really got into yoga. I suppose I was just focused on that. And then a few years ago, I started getting into it, and then I was regular, and then I wasn't regular. And then I suddenly got this bee in my bonnet the end of 2020 I was like, oh, I'm going to do my yoga teacher training. And then I was like, no, I'm not. And then end of January last year, I just got to be in my bonnet because I thought I'd always do beginners, because I felt like there wasn't a space for beginners. you kind of have to, and this is what I found for myself, even though I've been a personal trainer 14 years and I've always been athletic, even when I started going regularly and found a studio I love, I didn't really know how to do the things. I was just kind of following the people around me. And so I found that there wasn't a niche here where I live, where they for beginners to actually teach how do you do tree? How are you meant to feel when you're doing tree? How are you meant to actually go down knees, chest, chin? Because oh my word, I saw so many people doing chaturanga in those classes that should not have been doing it. I was like, you're gonna tear a rotator cuff muscle. Like, and it was, I promise you, it used to irritate me. I was a Tuesday 5 p.m. class, there's one girl in front of me. I was so close to actually one day going and saying, like, you actually doing it wrong, but to stop myself. But I just found that no one was really teaching the beginner. So that's what I decided I'm going to do that. And I actually did my training last year, and now I do beginners only. And I have 5 to 6 ladies that come here. I've got a studio at home with AstroTurf with a nice view of the sea. So we do 6 a.m. It's a bit chilly now. So we've stopped the 6 a.m. and we're just doing 5 p.m. And I literally teach them how to do tree, how to do like everything, how to do it from how to do Tadasana. Why do we stand like this? How you meant to feel, like all the basics. And it's just, yeah, I think this aspect and teach it, it's made me fall in love with it and love moving my body and doing yoga for myself more, because now I appreciate how accomplished other people feel when they're doing it as a beginner and, you know, feeling like they can do it. So I'm very new to yoga, but I've kind of niched down specifically. And yeah, I'm excited for myself to get a practice like yours. I'm getting there. My little one's just turned 3. So I'm getting there with the getting my practice in myself. But I do journal. My self-care that I do every single day and self-love practices, I journal. I do gratitude journaling every single morning before I open my phone. So I'm not allowed to touch my phone until I have done that page. So I'm getting there. I'll get to my 33 years. I'm keeping that number in my head now. So if I start from today, so inspiring, honestly.
Jane, I have to applaud you. It gives me great pleasure, and for the audience, I'm sitting here, I'm smiling from ear to ear because it gives me great joy to know that there are teachers out there that are sticking to the fundamentals, meaning that breath is a fundamental practice of yoga. Silencing the mind, how you stand within the 4 corners of your feet, and how you engage the core, and how you lift the rib cage, and how you breathe, you know, and how the diaphragm moves many times. And again, I was one of those people because I've always been, I like you, have always been physically oriented. And so my practice was very physically oriented for years, for years. And with you, you know, I can honestly say that now it's more energetically based because I can see the alignment of the actual asanas, the practice, the movement as the energy moves through the chakra system. So that to me is where my practice is. But I have to share with you and express gratitude. If you're not getting the appreciation and the validation from your students, I will give it to you because it is so important. And Jane, because I am a chiropractor and because I'm visually oriented, I have to stand in front of the class. I literally, if I'm standing behind somebody, I'm like, oh my God, I spend all my energy looking at their alignment of their practice. And it's so snooty. We talk about judgment, right? It's like I'm this little yogi snob that stands back there. And I am by far the least perfect person when it comes to my practice, but there's strength to it. There's, you know, alignment. There's, oh my goodness, that's just a little inside humor for me because it's just the last place that I want to be judgmental. And so I have to put myself up front.
I didn't even think about that. Because I mean, I've been going to chiro for years and I've got chiro friends. For you guys, posture and alignment is everything. You know, it affects your biomechanics, it affects everything. So I can only imagine you would just be like behind every person checking, oh, this is out. Oh, their shoulder's higher than the other. Like, I need to tell him that he needs to work on this. So funny.
Yes, it's terrible. It's terrible. So, and I just need to refrain from, obviously I don't say anything, but what bothers me is that it takes up the space in my brain where, you know, that's my own personal practice.
Yeah, that's It's such a good tip because maybe now I haven't gone to classes. I've been doing online with COVID, but when I do feel okay to go back, that's actually such a good idea. I must put myself in the front. I think I wasn't always confident because I didn't think that I was inverted commas good back then. But now that I actually have done my course and I know how to do things properly, I can actually, that's such a great tip. Thank you. I'm actually going to do that because I think it will just irritate me if I'm behind people.
That
Love
is
that.
true.
So we kind of led into our question before with what led you to becoming a chiro. So let's talk more about being an intuitive chiro. So because you kind of touched on that. How
Mm.
does a session go with that? So do people book you just for chiro? Like, do you have two separate things that they can book? Do they just book you for chiro and then they book you for an intuitive chiro? Or does it sometimes just happen where you just kind of like doing normal chiro and then you feel something or you hear something? How do you work around that with, especially if you don't know if they're a woo-woo person?
Mhm, mhm. So yes, I do see when somebody books a session with me, they have the opportunity for a half hour hands-on chiropractic adjustment. And the reason that I want to talk about the central nervous system and the plexus of nerves. Obviously, the primary purpose behind chiropractic is to remove any nerve interference as it exits out of the central nervous system, the brain, and then it travels down through the spine. So we want to make sure that the communication from the brain is actually getting to the body. So now, in that knowledge, know that there's an energy center, a 7 main energy centers that are intimately connected to those nerve plexuses. So I can't adjust somebody's spine and not have an appreciation for how it is affecting their chakra system. It goes hand in hand. I can't separate the two. So, but I make there's a difference between being an intuitive chiropractor and knowing. I get, because I am dialed in to receive direct knowing and information, I don't necessarily always get the platform to share that information to the patients. And again, I have to be really mindful about who's laying on my table. But for the most part, when somebody is looking for energetic work or medical intuition, then I do that remotely. And I do that remotely so that I can expand my field and not be not in an environment in which I'm running into somebody else's field. So it's easier for me to be in privacy and expand my field and open up my senses. So so those are two ways that I work with people. But like, for example, I'm going to share a story. And I was working on she was probably 50. And I knew that she was in a position that um, she was wanting to conceive. And I knew that she also had a ovarian cyst and she had endometriosis. So to make a long story short, I could physically feel it. I could palpate. It was huge. It was probably about the size of a football. I mean, it was pretty substantial. And as I'm palpating it, I'm literally getting flashes of information as to trauma that's stored within her system. And not all of it was, it was really sensitive information that I was receiving. I she didn't hire me to give her my intuition, my feedback. So I just gently, said, look, I am receiving information in regards to your uterine fibroids. I know that you're undergoing medical treatment, but I do believe that there is an energetic component that unless that is treated, I think that you're going to continue to have some issues. So that's where there was a pretty big overlap. And she was open to the information. She was open to my receiving that kind of guidance. And I think that she was really in a position where she wants to do what is right in order to conceive, to be able to carry a baby, that she had to make some decisions as to what treatment she was going to undergo. So that's an example.
Wow. And they take, and you giving the option. I think that's the most important thing, is to say you're receiving it, you give them the option if they want to know or not. I'm sure some people are quite closed off and wouldn't, but that is so powerful. Like, honestly, there are probably so many injuries that, and traumas to the body that are more energetic than anything else, and that you are now able to help them, whereas they would have been coming back for just chiro. Not that it's
Mhm.
just chiro, but and now it's like you can actually heal that aspect completely.
Yeah. I quite honestly, to be honest with you, Jane, I do think that most, if not all, of the root of our physical issues, whether they be physical traumas or emotional, are originally an energetic wound.
Mm.
That's my belief system. So I'm always looking towards that to
Whenever
find the root.
whenever one of my friends has something or pain, or I reach for the Louise Hay book first, and then I'll take a photo and I'll send it to them. I'm like that person. Just saying.
Yeah, that's a great resource.
Hmm.
That's a great resource.
Do you need to exhale? Do you need time for you? Join one of my famous Unselfishly Me retreats. We have space on our Midlands retreat in November at our favorite Brambleberry Lodge from the 11th to the 13th of November. But hurry, there are only 5 rooms left and they go really fast. So visit www.unselfishlyme.com/retreats to see what is coming up in your area and what still has availability. Email hello@unselfishlyme.com to book your spot. Oh, I'm loving this conversation. So, you experienced burnout. What tips can you give women to avoid going through what you did?
I appreciate you asking that question. Because as I share my burnout story with a lot of people, I'm slightly embarrassed because, quite honestly, I had the physical symptoms right in front of me. My body spoke to me. My body screamed at me. My body demanded attention from me. And I was in a phase in my life in which I chose to consciously ignore my body. So my advice to women is please, please, please listen to the messenger. Stop. Just take a time out, take a breather, and listen to your body because it's talking to you for a reason. And if you choose to continuously ignore it, your body will create some kind of a catastrophic event. Trust me, that's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah. And I think also, as women being people pleasers, and also in this industry as healers, and you are always putting other people first because you're just trying to help and heal. And can I just get an appointment? And you're like, oh, I've actually reached my quota for today. Okay, yes, no shame. You can't move your neck. Come on. Meantime, you are the one who's not going to be able to move your neck because you are helping so many people. So it is easy, I think, as a woman, it is really easy to reach burnout because you're always putting everyone else first.
Mhm. And I would like to expand upon this because this is an aha for me. There's 2 things that I want to expand upon. And I wish, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I wish this technique, this energetic technique, was taught in all service industries, that for all nurses, for all attorneys, for all firefighters, for all physicians, for all people that are intimately connected with other individuals. I believe that unless we can mutually separate from all those people that we are of service to, then there is a merging of energy which takes and occupies your own energetic space to where you have less of your life force flowing through you. And that's the first component. The second component, that energetically, when we are empathic or we want to care for another person, it typically comes through the space of the second chakra. And so in the navel, we open that energy center. As women, we're caretakers, right? We open that energy center and we say, we'll take care of it. We'll care for you. We'll do whatever it takes. And then what ends up happening is that we take that energy and we house it within our own. So that's when a chakra system becomes congested, and that's when it starts to malfunction. That's when our hormones go out of whack. That's when so it's just a negative feedback cycle that, if unless it is addressed, it will continuously perpetuate itself. So those are the two things that I want all people to know.
Yeah, I think it will definitely help. There's probably so many women nodding their heads listening to this. So, what exactly is energetic healing and how can this help us?
I think that this, first and foremost, I want people to understand that energetic healing has been available across many lifetimes, meaning that it is so ancient and so old that people think it's new age and woo woo now, but it's really been something that's been available to us. And essentially, an energetic healer's intention is to balance the flow of energy as it moves through the various energy systems. So there's various different frequencies that we can use as healing opportunities if we just connect with them. The first energetic frequency is the frequency of Mother Earth. And so, if we can learn how to mindfully connect and to fill ourselves up in nurturance and love and support from Mother Earth, then we can be a greater and a fuller expression of ourselves. So, energy healing is not much different than being a chiropractor. I'm looking to remove any interference. So, I want the chakra system to be fully functional. I'm looking at the biofield, looking for any areas of vulnerability. So I want to patch that up and I want to create firm boundaries for people. The same is true for any occupancy within the brain limiting their belief systems. It's energetic healing takes on so many different facets, but the intention is to support another spirit in doing their own healing journey. I think that energetic healing it's not a passive modality, it's an active modality. So with proper guidance, I can support people in bringing their awareness into their own healing journey.
I love this stuff. Like, yes. I think it's so nice to for people to hear this from someone like yourself, like a Caro, someone you go to and you would never think that you could incorporate these kind of things. So it's really nice for them to hear these things from you so that it'll let them like dip their toe a little bit into, the more energetic woo-woo side, which I love.
Mhm.
So what is your favorite thing about the work that you do?
Mm. Your last comment prompted me to say one more thing. I absolutely love being a medical intuitive. I love holding sacred space for other people in their transformational healing. I am honored to greet people spirit to spirit. It's what fills my soul. It's my purpose. And I can honestly say that my mission is to bridge the gap of science and the woo-woo-ness. I am just an average middle-aged woman who wants to support people in making and bridging that gap. So my background is in science, and my what I stand for is a new science that I know that within my lifetime there'll be so much validity to the unseen world, and we'll be able to measure it. Now I'm operating on faith, which I have a tremendous amount of faith. And Jane, I don't know how my computer works. I don't know how my car works, but I depend on them every single day. So I'm not attached to having hardcore science to prove what I intuitively know to be the truth.
That is so true. We just like, how does the internet work? Like, how does your Wi-Fi get into your house? Like, we don't know, but we don't.
Like, what's the cloud?
Yeah. Where is the cloud?
Is it a physical space? No. Oh, okay. Well, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to store something in that I can't see?
And feel like it's safe. All our memories are safe up in the cloud. It makes so much sense when you say that. Like, I'm going to say that to people when they don't believe. I'm be like, but you believe in the cloud. Okay. That makes more sense than believing in chakras and believing that when I do an angel card reading, that your spirit guides use my spirit guides to send me the message, to give you the message, because you won't listen to the whisperings of your own soul. Okay. Yeah. No, but the cloud makes more sense than that.
Oh, Jean, I didn't know that you read angel cards. That's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually also like just kind of was divinely guided. It was 2018, end of 2018, and a friend of mine did her spiritual life coaching course here in Durban. The guy who did it is from Joburg, so he came down, and she had just finished hers. Because I was thinking about life coaching, but then I also thought everyone does life coaching, like, and there's the same courses, and it's almost like businessy. And then when she told me about the spiritual life coaching course, I was like, this is so fascinating. It's so interesting. So I signed up for that. And then at the same time that he was here, he was doing the next week, he was doing a workshop on angel card reading. So now it's the normal cards, like the oracle cards, but he has created these like angel boards as well. So it's all different topics like career, friends and family, spirituality, problems. It's like a whole list of like 10 things. And it has like 2 dice and like a little marker. It's really cool. So it's almost like playing a game for me, I suppose, because I'm like doing the dice to see what it lands on. And so I did it just for fun. And I actually forgot about it for a few years. And then only in 2020, when I was coming up to my studio and my office a lot, I was just coming up to talk, and I already had the podcast I was coming up to record. And I actually saw it like when I was recording on the floor. As you can see, I'm a floor recorder. And it was underneath I have like an altar, and it was underneath it. And I was like, oh, I forgot about this. So I just did like once or twice for myself. And it was only last year in April, I realized it's only been a year and a bit, but I thought it felt longer, that my friend was like, oh, I want to do an angel reading. Don't you want to do it? And I did one for her, and she was like so blown away. And she said it was so accurate, which, I mean, I didn't really know if I was good at it or anything. I was just doing it. And then, so then I put it up and I started doing more and more. And yeah, I've been doing it since April last year. I really love it. And the feedback I get is so fascinating. You'll appreciate this. I Half the time when I'm doing it, I pre-record it. So I don't do it live. I like to have my space, and I pre-record it, tap into them, and then send it afterwards. But I always manifest whatever like I'll start getting thirsty, and I'll say on the video, I'm like, sorry, I haven't been thirsty all day. So I think you're dehydrated. You need to drink water. And I'll start doing that. And I don't get heartburn. It was actually yesterday morning I did one. And I don't get heartburn. Even when I was pregnant, didn't get heartburn. And I started feeling like gas in my chest, like gas. And I was like, oh, this feels like heartburn. So I actually said on the video, I was like, I just feel like I've just got heartburn. I don't know if you have acid reflux or heartburn. If you do, then this is for you, because I don't get this feeling. So I recorded at 11 a.m. She watched it at 1:30. And she wrote me an email, and she was like, my jaw dropped when you said that, because I'd just taken a tablet for acid reflux.
So for the audience, I want to share what I'm observing in Jane's field. Is that acceptable for you if I share what I'm seeing?
Yeah, go for it.
So
Do.
as I'm witnessing Jane, and again, we're doing this via Zoom, and I'm watching her, and she's got a white background behind her. So it's perfect for me to be able to see her energetic field. And so as she's seeing this, her whole auric system expands, lights up, becomes brighter, and it's a lot more colorful. Then what ends up happening is that as Jane is talking about this, it's clear to me that there's a clairvoyance, and that she is receiving direct information as the energy system gets higher above her head. It's so vibrant and so brilliant. And I feel like anybody that could see you right now would be able to see this.
Oh my God.
But I wanted to share this with the audience, that is definitely a skill of Jane's. I can see that as being part of her truth.
Oh my gosh, I've just got chills. Wow. Thank you. I love that. I've always wanted to do like an aura reading, and there was someone apparently in Durban who used to go, and you could actually have a photo taken, and it was of your aura, but no one knows who they are. If anyone's listening and knows of someone in Durban who does that, let me know. Thank you. That's so interesting. I love that. So clearly it is something that I enjoy doing, and meant to be doing it. I mean, I'm all about intuition. I'm always reading the intuition books, and I want to do like because in my human design, I do have one of the gates, and I think I've got open ajna, and there's a few things that it is all about intuition and psychic potential. So I'm like, I really want to tap into that more. So yeah, thank you. That is very affirming for me. So I need to promote that more because everyone always says, "Are you still doing those readings?" Because I don't post about it on social media all the time because I'm posting about my products and this and that. So yeah, thank you. I'm going to start posting more about that and maybe even do a blog post because I haven't for ages. That was so interesting. Thank you.
Lovely, lovely.
Um, so that is my favorite thing about you as well, is that you can read auras. Thank you for that. So what is one thing you wish you could tell younger you?
Wow, stop pushing and allow more.
Mm, I feel like everyone will resonate with that. I think because we're always chasing and we we're always told hustle, hustle, hustle. And now we're learning, don't hustle, let it come to you. What's meant for you is always going to come to you. So why are you pushing so hard? Mm. Oh, I'm taking my own advice. Love that. So, what else would you like to tell us about your business, your work, and your life? Is there anything that you want to say?
Well, I want to make sure the audience knows how to connect with me personally. That's important because if you are intuitively guided, or if you resonate with the messages, I sincerely want to give you an avenue in which you can connect with me personally. You can always find out information. I'm very active on Instagram and social media. And so my handles are going to be at dr, like doctor, dot Mary E. Sanders, Marye, S as in Sam, An as in Nancy, Ders. You can find me there. I also have a website that lists all of my upcoming events. And the website is www.drmarysanders. There's no E in that one, and there's no period. But I am right now, what I'm kind of most excited about is that in a couple of weeks, I'll be starting my boot camp. I am holding space for women for 5 days. We're going to be talking about the science of burnout, and then we'll take an integrative approach and talk about the mind, body, spirit. So we'll be covering a lot of information in those boot camps, and then I will start every morning with a guided meditation in alignment with the theme of the day. So that boot camp is free of charge, and that leads into my signature program. And I have a offering in which, over a course of 5 months, I support women going through functional blood chemistry analysis, going through chakra alignment and healing energetically, and also incorporating positive psychology. So those, I feel like it's a unique approach. It's not an approach that you typically see, but we are supporting women in their transformation. So those are some important things. And most recently, I'm pretty excited about this. Myself and another graduate of the academy, we're going to be holding a retreat in Osa, Blue Osa in Costa Rica
Ooh.
in March of 2023. And we've secluded an entire resort. And so we're going to be able to do energetic healing techniques in the morning. And then we end the practice with some yin yoga in the afternoon.
Oh.
So all of that information is on my website. I just am so thankful, Jane. I have to share with you, for as many years as I've been self employed, I can finally say that I'm showing up in my strengths and aligning with what I believe is my true purpose. So I am just delighted to put the energy out there and to trust my frequency that I will attract those people that need these services and that want the healing. So I feel blessed tremendously, and I feel so honored to spend time with you today and just chatting. I find you to be incredibly a lovely, gentle, and brilliant soul. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm so excited too. And I'm excited to follow you now, following you on Instagram. And I'm super excited to learn from you. I feel like you are someone who would be an incredible mentor, and I have so much to share. And I feel like what you are doing is so important. I've been to so many caras over the years, and car accidents and needing all that kind of stuff. But I just feel like if I'd met someone like you, earlier on, it just would have, it would have just been just so interesting and so incredible. So I love what you're doing, and I'm honestly so happy that I got to connect with you and to continue. So I'm going to follow you, and I'm going to see you in the future. One day we will meet in person. That's
I
going to
love it. And I look forward to it.
Yeah,
Sincerely.
it'll either be in Costa Rica somewhere, or it'll be like, as soon as you said you're in Boulder, Colorado, I'm like, I've always been so pulled there. I must actually check my astrocartography. My friends are astrologers, and they do all my lines in astrocartography. I'm going to check, because I always feel like that is somewhere so beautiful to visit. So one day I will meet you in person, and it'll be incredible. But I'm excited to see all your programs and your boot camp. I'm definitely going to share that, and I'll share everything in the show notes for those who are driving and can't remember all that. And then you can just click through to her website. Highly recommend that you go and do that. So thank you, Dr. Mary, for being here today and giving of your time. It's actually her morning, and we didn't do video and for YouTube because she literally ran off her bat. Like, she ran and showered and sat down. So thank you for that, with this time difference. And thank you guys for listening, and I will see you next week. Thanks for listening to Unselfishly Me. Follow us on Instagram at unselfishlyme, and check out our website www.unselfishlyme.com.